Hello, I'm Alan, welcome to Guitar Shack. So today's video is the start of a build project that I'm doing. This one's just for me. It's a bit of a practice skills mule really. So the background is that I've been looking for an Epiphone Dot for a while, in decent shape, but just basically to practice, learn how to rewire it. I've never rewired a semi-acoustic before. And I wanted to build up a loom from scratch, practice doing that wiring and then practice the installation. So I thought I'll just do a Dot, give it a bit of an upgrade, and then keep it just for kicks because I quite like them and it's nice to have a bit of a beater guitar that I can try stuff on. So I have actually got a really nice cherry Dot that I bought quite cheaply a couple of months back, and I haven't got around to doing anything with it yet. But then I came across this on eBay. And this is a 2021 inspired by Gibson ES335, but just the body. So the story of this one is that 2021 model, and the gentleman who owned it had the sometimes inevitable Epiphone neck break. It got dropped and the headstock broke. I don't think it broke all the way off, but it certainly split off, moved back, and it had split away from fingerboard. So he had a repair done to that which lasted about a year, and then it started separating again. So then he had some further work done to it, which was to repair all that, and to replace the fingerboard itself, or the fretboard itself, with this one which is ebony, and which has got nice block inlays on it, which always looks fantastic on a 335. So that's what he did. He also at the same time he had some pickup upgrades done, and he had rewiring done with a custom loom. So that would have been a nice guitar. But at the end of the day, he couldn't get a neck finish on it that he was happy with, and he decided to just cash out and to break it for parts. So I've bought the Hulk, and what I've been doing for the last couple of weeks is just bit by bit tidying up the finish on this. It's never going to be perfect and it's never going to look brilliant because it is basically got like little divots along here. The finish has been sanded off and then restained, and it's not a perfect join by any means, but I can make it a lot better. I can make it presentable, and for my purposes it's just going to be a beater guitar anyway, so I'm quite happy with that. I think the neck repair itself is as solid as a rock, so we'll see. So I'm going to build this up. I've got some actual Epiphone ProBuckers that I'm going to put in this. I prefer them to the 335 ones. I've got them in Sheratons and they're really nice, crisp, articulate PAF, and they're cheap as chips. So in keeping with trying to build a nice guitar out of cheap stuff, so I've got ProBuckers to go in. I've got an X-Trem, which you might see in one of my other videos, which is a trem system that actually sits on the tailpiece holes, so it'll sit back here, so it's not a Bigsby, but it gives it a bit of that feel, and it's completely reversible and it doesn't make any holes in it. And then I've got a wiring kit of all the components to build up a complete wiring loom and do that bit. So I've also got the tuners to go on it. So over the course of the next couple of months I'll probably be doing little bits as we go along, and building this up into a fun little sort of 335 with a touch of the 355 about it, with the fancy inlays and a whammy bar. It's just going to be a fun little rock and roll machine. So as you can see, it's got a nice cherry finish, nice bit of figuring to it, which is a nice touch. It's got the inspired by Gibson smaller pick guard, which is nice. It's a bit more 335 correct. It is a 335 style as opposed to a 355 style, so it doesn't have the extended, more inlaid binding, which is fine. So it's never going to be an accurate representation of anything really. It's a 335 style guitar, but it has got this nice ebony fingerboard that's been attached, and with these abalone or mother of pearl, whatever they are, inlays, which are nice. I do like these. It gives it a touch of class. And the headstock is the small headstock inspired by a Gibson style one. So that's all great. What's not so great is that you can see quite clearly under the finish where the original fretboard broke away and then where it's been reattached and glued. And there is a kind of transparent finish on it, so it doesn't really cover up all that much, but that's fine. So I've put several coats, I've masked it off, I've put several coats of cherry stain on it, and there's a few areas where it's a little bit low, so I'm going to do some drop filling on this with CA just to build up the finish, and then I'll do a little bit more staining, and then I'm just going to finish it in a with a gloss lacquer, which will then, you know, not hide it, but it'll make it perfectly acceptable. So you can see that it's quite rough at the moment. And you can see some of the just some of the little divots in the finish from where it's been glued and then sanded back. I've done some further sanding and some further staining, a combination of cherry red stain and judicious application of a little bit of red Sharpie just to get into some of the nooks and crannies. So a bit more tidying up to do. So this is the refinished neck. It's never going to be anywhere close to perfect, but it's respectable enough. Have level, crowned and polished fretboard and prepped the body. So we're now into build stage. So because it's a transparent finish, you can certainly see where the original neck join has been and where the new fingerboard has been put on. So I'm not trying to sort of hide anything, but I think you have to be reasonably close to see that. And overall, it's now finished, glossy, and I'm pleased with it. So wiring time. So I've got Bourne's pots, orange drop capacitors, and then Switchcraft switch and jack. So I'm going to be wiring this lot up. And that is the finished loom. I didn't show the process. It's a bit tedious to watch, but there's some great videos on YouTube if you want to know how to wire one of these up. If you look on the 6 String Supply website, they do wiring kits and they've got some fantastic videos, and it was theirs that I followed for this. So the moment of truth, everything's in. It seems to be connected and it is quiet, and we have an electric guitar. So here is the end result, which I'm quite pleased with. So what have we done? So we've taken the basic hulk. I've fixed the neck, or tidied up the neck as much as possible. I've installed these, so ProBuckers, Epiphone ProBuckers, decent pickups. Fitted the X-Trem with a roller bridge, and that's a nice and responsive trem. Sits nicely, completely reversible. I do like these. You can't actually get them in the UK, so you've got to import them from Guitar Fetish in the US. So they're not that expensive in the US, they're quite expensive in the UK because you've got to pay import charges and shipping, but it's still cheaper than a Bigsby, and it's a lot better than any of the sort of cheap Bigsbys that I've tried. So, you know, for a cheap guitar like this, I think it's a really good option. So pleased with that, and I think it looks the part. So I've got decent wiring in there. Went in a lot easier than I thought, to be honest. The big secret on these, inspired by Gibson 335s, is they've got a big hole inside the pickup cavity, so you can feed everything through the pickup cavity. Now that's not the case in the Sheraton that I did this week, and I'm not sure whether it's the case on a Dot. but it certainly made it a lot easier to lay out the wiring, feed it in, configure it in the right way, and then just drop everything through. So it went in relatively straightforwardly. So overall, this is a nice guitar. It plays really well. Done a quick setup on it. Sounds like a 335 should. So yeah, very pleased. Now over here I've got the Dot, which was going to be the original recipient of all of this stuff. And what can I say about the Dot? I mean, these are nice guitars, and I think the problem with Dots, well, the good thing but the problem is they're too cheap. So they are really nice guitars. This has got a really nice neck. It's well finished. I haven't done anything with it. It was well set up when it arrived, because obviously I was intending to strip it and I put stuff into it. But it plays really nicely. It sounds decent with these original humbuckers. But these are the thing that most people don't like about the Dots. It's the electronics. So my idea with this one was keep it standard but put in the ProBuckers and the decent wiring. And I still think that's a really good option for upgrading Dots. The problem is the economics of it though, because so I've been pricing it up, and either using sort of eBay second-hand ProBuckers, which tend to go for 50-ish quid, or even the upgrade I would do would be to use iron gears, either Blues Engine and Dirty Torque, which are two humbuckers combination, which is a real nice combination, really nice pickups. I think that's about 70 quid for the two of them. Or they do a really nice humbucker sized P90, which is another nice option to put in a Dot, I think. So I might do one with a couple of those. I might put a couple of those in this actually, just to see what it looks like and see what it sounds like. So that would be a nice option too. Again, that's about 70 quid. So all in with a wiring kit, you're looking at £100+ in parts. And then I'd be looking at probably about 100 quid's worth of labour to wire up the kit, to install the kit, and then to do my usual complete gold service with a full setup, bit of fret leveling, all the things I normally do. So on one hand, I'd be adding £200 worth of value to a guitar. Now you can pick these up, you might get them for about 200, 250. You can normally pick up a Dot in the UK, usually not in great condition and a bit abused. But by the time you do that and then you add on £200 of cost with me, you're looking at the price of a nice second-hand inspired by Gibson one. So it doesn't make any economic sense. I think what it might make sense though is if you have a Dot already, where it's a nice guitar, you like it, you just like to do a bit of an upgrade, but you don't want to sell it and buy an inspired by Gibson version, because people get attached to guitars because they've got them set up nicely because they, for whatever reason, they really like them. I do think that might be a viable option or a viable service to offer to people. So 200 quid, give me a Dot and I'll give you a complete rewire, new set of pickups, which will significantly improve the guitar, well, without being a stupid amount of money to put into a cheap guitar. So I'm thinking about offering that service. I might put some advertising out on my website and see if there's an interest in it. Let me know what you think in the comments, whether that would be a kind of viable option, or if you are a Dot owner. In the meantime, I'm going to hang on to this one and decide what I do. I may well go ahead and put in the Iron Gear Alchemist 90s, so replace these with a couple of P90 clones and see what that looks like. So that's probably the next project, and then I'll also make sure I'll figure out whether I'm going through the FO or whether I'm going through the body cavity when I'm actually doing the rewires, because that again will make a difference to the viability of it as a kind of product. So there we go. I hope you found that interesting. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you back in the shack soon.